Look, I'm not saying I saw it coming, but when your wife spends 20 minutes adjusting her Spanx in a hotel bathroom while telling you, her actual husband, that you're killing her vibe by existing near her, you start to connect certain dots. The wedding was at the Fairmont Copley Plaza in Boston, because God forbid my sister Amelia get married somewhere that doesn't require a second mortgage to park. Everything was gold, and I mean everything. Gold tablecloths, gold chair sashes, gold-flecked champagne that probably cost more than my first car. The whole place looked like King Midas had sneezed on a Pinterest board. I showed up alone, not because I wanted to make some dramatic statement or whatever. Nora, oh, that's the wife for now, had texted me 3 hours before the ceremony. Going with my parents, you just slow us down. Uber yourself. Followed by a champagne emoji because apparently humiliation needs garnish now. So yeah, I Ubered. In my perfectly fine Tom Ford suit that she'd once called so safe it's basically beige, which is rich coming from someone whose entire personality is an Instagram filter. The driver asked if I was going to something important. I said, a funeral, basically. He laughed. He got it more than my own family ever would. The ceremony was fine if you're into watching two people who peaked in college promise eternal devotion while their combined student loan debt hovers over the altar like a financial poltergeist. Amelia married some hedge fund bro named Preston, who definitely introduced himself at parties with, I'm kind of a big deal in derivatives. The kind of guy who wears Patagonia vests to business meetings and thinks it makes him relatable. But the reception? That's where the magic happened. I'd barely walked into the ballroom when I heard it. That laugh. You know the one, the kind that sounds like champagne bubbles and casual cruelty had a baby. My wife's laugh. Oh my God, he actually came by himself. Nora's voice carried across 3 tables and an ice sculpture of a swan. She was already tipsy, which I could tell because she does this thing where she touches everyone's arm when she talks, like she's bestowing blessings. Look, everyone! The family loser made it! A couple of her friends giggled. Her mother, Satan in St. John's separates, smirked into her Prosecco. I waved, smiled even, because that's what you do when you're playing the long game and everyone else is still reading the rules. My father, Richard Call Me Rich Morrison, materialized at the bar like a capitalism-scented ghost. He's got that CEO energy that makes you want to apologize for breathing his air. Son, he said, gripping my shoulder the way you'd hold a bag of expired meat. Couldn't even bring a date to your sister's wedding. Embarrassing. Yeah, well, my wife's here somewhere, I said. Maybe you've seen her? Blonde, amazing at spending money she didn't earn, allergic to sincerity. He didn't laugh. Rich never laughs at my jokes. Probably because he doesn't think I deserve humor. The night rolled on like these things do. Overpriced fish, speeches that made everyone cry except me, a DJ who thought playing Uptown Funk for the 3rd time was peak entertainment. I posted up near the decorative fountain, this massive marble monstrosity with cherubs and water features that probably violated several physics laws. It was the kind of thing rich people buy to prove they have money to literally throw in a fountain. I was checking my phone. Ava had texted, "How bad is it?" And honestly, bless her, when I felt hands on my back. Not gentle hands. Push you into public humiliation hands. Oops! Nora's voice, shrill with performance and veuve clicquot. Sorry, honey, you were just so in the way. I hit that water like a trust fund kid hits their dad's credit limit. Hard, fast, and with an audience. The fountain was cold, like metaphor for my marriage cold. I surfaced to applause. Actual applause. Someone yelled, "Cannonball!" My father was shaking his head. Amelia had her hand over her mouth, but her eyes were laughing. Preston was filming on his phone because of course he was. And Nora? She was doubled over, mascara running, having the time of her life. I stood up. Water poured off my Tom Ford suit, the basically beige one that cost $3,000 and now smelled like chlorine and shattered dignity. My shoes squeaked, my hair plastered to my forehead like a depressed Roman statue. The room was dying. Absolute chaos. Someone started a slow clap. The DJ, that beautiful idiot, played Making a Splash by some one-hit wonder from 2003. I looked directly at Nora, then at my father, then at Amelia, who was wiping away tears of joy at my expense, and I smiled. Not a defeated smile, not a good sport smile, The kind of smile that makes people's subconscious tap them on the shoulder and whisper, "Hey, you're going to regret this. Don't forget this moment," I said. Calm, clear, loud enough to cut through the laughter. The water dripped off my nose like some kind of baptism in reverse, because I won't. Then I glided out of that ballroom, leaving wet footprints on marble that probably cost more per square foot than most people's rent. Behind me, the laughter continued, but there was something else underneath it now, something uncertain, something that smelled like karma clearing its throat. 20 minutes, I thought, squeezing water from my sleeves in the hotel corridor. Just give it 20 minutes. You don't wake up one day and decide to become your family's punching bag. It's more like a gradual subscription service you didn't know you signed up for. And by the time you realize you're being charged, canceling feels impossible. I was 8 when I figured out I was the spare kid. You know how royal families have the heir and the spare? Yeah, we had that, except we lived in Greenwich, Connecticut, not Buckingham Palace. And instead of a throne, we were competing for my father's occasional eye contact. Amelia was born first, which, according to Dad's weird primogeniture capitalism logic, made her the chosen one. She got piano lessons at Juilliard's pre-college division. I got a used keyboard from Costco and a pat on the head. She went to riding camps in the Hamptons. I went to math camp at the local community college, which Dad described to his friends as character building, which is rich people code for we forgot about him. Mom, Catherine Morrison, former debutante and current professional charity lunch attender, just sort of existed adjacent to us. She cared about 2 things: what people thought and making sure what people thought was impressive. Actual parenting fell somewhere between get the Volvo detailed and remember to tip the landscaper at Christmas on her priority list. I remember this one time, I was maybe 10, I won this regional science fair, built a working model of a water filtration system out of stuff from Home Depot. Local news came to school and everything. I was pumped. Ran home with the trophy, this cheap plastic thing that felt like solid gold in my hands. Dad was in his office, always in his office. I knocked, you had to knock, and went in. "Dad, I won, first place." He looked up from his computer like I'd interrupted a meeting with the president. "Won what?" "The science fair, remember? I told you about it last month." He blinked, actually had to process whether he cared. "That's good. Did Amelia have ballet today?" Not even subtle about it. Mom's response was worse. She smiled, that tight smile that doesn't reach the eyes, and said, "Well, that's nice, sweetie. Just don't mention it at dinner on Saturday. The Hendersons are coming, and their son just got into Andover early. We don't want to seem like we're, trying too hard." I was 10, and I'd already learned that winning wasn't enough. You had to win the right things. The things that looked good in Christmas cards and country club conversations. Amelia, meanwhile, could fart in Latin, and they'd throw her a parade. High school was more of the same. She was homecoming queen, debate team captain, and president of 4 clubs that probably just existed so she could put them on college applications. I was fine. Good grades, decent at soccer. Invisible to everyone, including the yearbook committee who spelled my name wrong 3 years running. Eric Morrison became Eric Morrison, Eric Morrissey, and my personal favorite, that Morrison kid. The comparisons were constant. Amelia got into Yale early decision. "Where are you applying, son?" Amelia made the dean's list again. "How are your grades?" Amelia's dating a Rhodes Scholar. "Are you seeing anyone, or are you still doing that computer thing?" That computer thing. Like I was in the basement sacrificing goats to Bill Gates. I went to Carnegie Mellon. Good school, great program. Dad called it a solid backup choice, which is dad speak for, we're disappointed but won't say it directly. Amelia went to Yale, obviously, where she majored in economics and minored in making me look worse by comparison. College was the first time I felt like I could breathe. Nobody knew I was the spare Morrison. Nobody cared that my sister was better at whatever arbitrary metric we were using that day. I could just be Eric, the guy who was weirdly good at cybersecurity and made his friends laugh at dinner. I met Nora junior year. She was pre-law, gorgeous in that high-maintenance way that should have been a red flag but felt like validation. She laughed at my jokes. She thought my tech stuff was cute. She didn't mind that I wasn't as polished as the finance bros or as connected as the legacy kids. What I didn't realize, because I was 21 and stupid and desperate to prove I could get the girl, was that she saw me as a project, a fixer-upper, the guy with potential that she could mold into something impressive. We dated through senior year, got engaged 6 months after graduation, because that's what you do when you're terrified of being alone, and she's really good at making you feel like you'd be lucky to have her. The wedding was small. My family showed up late. Dad gave a toast that was 90% about Amelia's recent promotion and 10% congrats, son, on this next chapter. Mom cried, but I think it was because the florist got the centerpieces wrong. Nora's family loved her, worshipped her, actually. They treated me like the help she'd wisely hired. Marriage didn't fix anything. Shocker, I know. She wanted me to be ambitious in the ways that looked good. Corner office, fancy title, invitations to galas. I wanted to build something that mattered. So I did both. Started Northline Systems in secret nights and weekends with my buddy Jake from grad school. Told Nora it was consulting work. She stopped asking about my day around year 2, started making jokes about me at parties around year 3. Oh, Eric, he's in IT, very stable. Stable, the word people use when they mean boring. The family dinners got worse. Every holiday was a highlight reel of Amelia's accomplishments, her promotions, her vacations, her perfectly curated Instagram aesthetic. I'd sit there smiling, nodding, while Dad asked her about stock portfolios, and Mom asked about her skincare routine. Nobody asked me anything except Amelia once after too much wine at Thanksgiving. So when are you going to do something impressive, little brother? The family's getting worried. I'd laughed. Define impressive. You know, something that matters, something people talk about. I'd looked her dead in the eye and said, give it time. She'd rolled her eyes, topped off her Chardonnay, forgot the conversation immediately. But I didn't. Because here's the thing about being underestimated your whole life. You learn patience. You learn to move in silence. You learn that the best revenge isn't a fight. It's a mirror. And I'd been polishing mine for years and just waiting for the right moment to hold it up and make them really look at what they'd been laughing at. Turns out, a fountain at a wedding is one hell of a reflecting pool. Let me tell you about Northline Systems, the company nobody in my family knows exists. Started in a Columbia, Maryland apartment that smelled like old carpet and broken dreams. Jake Chen and I, two guys who were really good at finding holes in other people's security and ethical enough not to exploit them, losers, decided to build something. The pitch was simple: enterprise cybersecurity that didn't suck. Most corporate security in 2015 was basically a screen door on a submarine. Companies were getting hacked left and right, losing millions, and their IT departments were held together with duct tape and prayers. We figured we could do better. So we did, nights and weekends for 2 years while I worked my stable day job that Nora loved mentioning at parties. She thought I was doing overtime. I was actually building an empire in hoodies and energy drinks. Jake handled the technical architecture. I handled the business side, client acquisition, contracts, making sure we didn't accidentally commit securities fraud, harder than it sounds. We brought in Ava Reeves about 8 months in. Ava. God, where do I even start with Ava? Met her at a tech conference in Austin. She was giving a keynote on AI-driven threat detection that made half the room look like they were watching someone perform magic. Brilliant didn't cover it. She had a PhD from Stanford, had worked at 3 different Fortune 500 companies, and could explain quantum encryption to a 5-year-old. Also, she laughed at my jokes. The real ones, not the practice ones I used at family dinners. We grabbed coffee after her talk. Coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into, wait, you're building what? She joined Northline 3 weeks later as CTO and co-founder. Jake got COO. I took CEO because someone had to deal with the lawyers and the VCs, and I was apparently the only one who could sit through a 4-hour meeting without falling asleep. The company grew fast, like scary fast. Year 1, $2 million in revenue. Year 2, $15 million. Year 3, $87 million, and contracts with 6 Fortune 100 companies. Year 4, we got acquisition offers that made my lawyer actually gasp on the phone. The whole time, my family thought I was still doing that IT thing. Nora thought my modest salary increases were cute. Dad would ask, when he remembered I existed, how my little tech support job was going. I never corrected them. Here's why. I wanted to see who loved me broke. Sounds dramatic, I know. But when you grow up being the disappointing kid, the one who's never quite enough. You start wondering if anyone actually sees you or if they're just seeing what you're worth, so I kept it quiet. Lived in our decent but not flashy house in Silver Spring. Drove a 3-year-old Accord, wore juice, bank suits to family events. Played the part of the mediocre middle-class guy who married slightly above his station. The only people who knew were Jake, our lawyer Miranda, and eventually Ava. Ava figured it out around month 6 of us working together. We were celebrating closing a major contract, $40 million deal with a pharmaceutical company, and everyone was popping champagne in the office. She pulled me aside. "You're married," she said. Not a question. "Yeah. Does your wife know what you're building?" I'd laughed. Couldn't help it. "She knows I work in tech, that's about it." Ava had tilted her head, studying me like I was a particularly interesting bug. "That's really sad, actually. It's strategic. It's lonely." She wasn't wrong. Look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm some blameless hero. The marriage with Nora died slowly, then quickly, then not at all. It just sort of existed in this zombie state where we lived in the same house and occasionally attended the same events but hadn't had a real conversation in years. She was busy with her law firm job and her friends and her Instagram aesthetic. I was busy building something that would eventually be worth more than everyone in my family combined. We were roommates with shared assets. By year 5, Northline was getting serious acquisition interest, tech giants circling like sharks. Ava, Jake, and I had long conversations about selling versus staying independent. The money being thrown around was stupid, like never work again money, buy a private island money, make everyone who ever doubted you choke on their champagne money. We took a meeting with Apex Technologies in January. They wanted everything, our tech, our team, our contracts. The offer was $8.4 billion with a B. Jake almost fainted. Ava stayed cool, negotiated terms. I sat there thinking about my father, telling me I should have gone into finance like a serious person. We signed the papers in March. NDA locked down tighter than Fort Knox. The press release was vague. Apex Technologies acquires cybersecurity firm, terms undisclosed. Business journals ran it as a back-page story. Nobody in my family noticed. My cut, after Jake and Ava took theirs and we paid everyone out, just north of $3 billion. I went home that night to Nora, watching Real Housewives and eating Thai food from the container. "How was work?" she asked, not looking up. "Fine," I said. "Same old stuff." She nodded, went back to her show. I sat on the couch next to her, this woman I'd married, this stranger who wore my last name, and thought about how spectacularly we'd failed each other. But mostly, I thought about timing. Amelia's wedding was in 2 months. The perfect stage, the ultimate audience. Ava and I had been dancing around something for about a year. Nothing physical. I'm not a cheater. And despite everything, I wasn't going to blow up my life until the pieces were properly arranged. But there was something there. Something real. Something that felt less like validation and more like recognition. She got me, got the jokes, the references, the quiet ambition. Saw the whole person, not just the useful parts. "I'm filing for divorce," I told her one night in the office after everyone else had gone home. She'd looked up from her laptop. "Finally." "Yeah." "Does she know about the sale?" "Nobody knows about the sale except us and the lawyers." Ava had smiled, this small, dangerous smile that made my heart do stupid things. "So what's your play?" "I'm thinking big reveal, public setting, maximum impact." "You're going to humiliate her?" "No," I'd said. "I'm going to let her humiliate herself. I'm just going to stand there and be honest for the first time in 10 years. "That's cold, Morrison. That's fair, Reeves." She'd laughed. God, I loved her laugh. Still do. The divorce paperwork got filed quietly. Miranda handled it. Contested divorce, evidence of financial infidelity. Nora had been spending joint account money on her boyfriend, because of course she had. Clean break. Nora's lawyer would get the papers right after the wedding. Everything was set. I just had to show up, be the joke one last time, and wait for the curtain to drop. Turns out the curtain was a $4,000 suit and a Rolls-Royce Phantom. But we'll get there. Nora and I met cute, which should have been my first warning sign. Nothing that starts cute ends well. It's like a rom-com in reverse, all the charm up front, then 20 years of passive-aggressive post-it notes about whose turn it is to buy toilet paper. She was in the campus library crying over a contracts textbook. I was there because the Wi-Fi in my dorm was garbage and I had a coding project due. Chivalry, or stupidity, the line's pretty thin, made me ask if she was okay. I'm fine, she'd said, in that specific way women say fine. That means I'm 3 seconds from a breakdown, but I need you to push a little harder. So I pushed. Turns out she'd bombed a midterm and her study group had ditched her for some party. I bought her a coffee from the campus Starbucks, which, looking back, cost like $6 and probably represented 10% of my weekly food budget, and helped her outline contracts principles for 3 hours. She'd looked at me with these grateful eyes and said, "You're really sweet, you know that." I was hooked, because when you grow up being told you're not enough, having someone call you sweet feels like winning the lottery. We dated the rest of junior year. She was fun back then, or maybe I was just lonely enough that present felt like fun. She'd laugh at my jokes, show up to my intramural soccer game, text me random thoughts throughout the day. Normal relationship stuff that felt extraordinary because I had never had it before. Senior year, we moved in together. That's when the cracks started showing, but I was really good at pretending cracks were just character. She'd make little comments. "You're wearing that? Do you have to laugh so loud? Maybe don't mention your video game thing at dinner with my parents. They're kind of sophisticated." Sophisticated. Code for "you're embarrassing." But she'd follow it up with, "I'm just trying to help you, and I want you to make a good impression." And my personal favorite, "I love you, I just want you to be your best self." Your best self. Translation, a different self. We got engaged 6 months after graduation because her friends were getting engaged and she needed to post ring photos on Facebook. I proposed at this Italian restaurant in Georgetown, got down on one knee next to a table of Georgetown law students who probably thought I was performing some kind of elaborate bit. She said yes, cried happy tears, posted 17 photos before we'd even ordered dessert. Her parents loved it. My parents forgot to call and congratulate us for 3 days. The wedding was small, her idea, which really meant your family isn't impressive enough for a big wedding. We did it at a hotel in Bethesda. 50 people. My dad gave that toast I mentioned. Amelia was a bridesmaid and spent the reception networking with Nora's law school friends. I remember standing at the altar thinking, this is it. This is the thing that makes me part of something. Narrator voice. It was not that thing. Marriage didn't fix me, which was confusing because Hallmark movies had really sold me on the transformative power of commitment. Instead, I just became a disappointing husband instead of a disappointing son. Efficiency. Nora wanted me to be ambitious, but only in specific ways. Ways that came with corner offices and invitations to firm events, and the ability to say, my husband is a VP at her book club. When I told her I was starting a company with Jake, she'd laughed, actually laughed. A startup? Eric, be serious. You have a good job, benefits, a 401k. Why would you risk that? Because I think we can build something important. Important. She'd said it like I'd suggested we join a cult. You know what's important? Stability, predictability, not gambling our future on some tech bro fantasy. It's not gambling. I've done the research, built the projections. Oh my God, you sound like every delusional guy with a laptop and a dream. Just don't quit your day job, okay? Do your little hobby on the side if you need to, but let's be realistic about our future. Our future. She said it a lot and never asked about my future, just ours, which really meant hers. So I did what she said. Kept the day job. Built Northline nights and weekends. Didn't tell her when we landed our first major client. Didn't tell her when we hit 7 figures in revenue. Definitely didn't tell her when Forbes called me for a profile interview, which I declined because timing. She thought I was working late. I was. Just not at the job she knew about. Year 3 of marriage, she stopped asking about my day entirely. We'd sit at dinner, when we had dinner together, which was rare, and she'd talk about her cases, her coworkers, her problems. I'd nod, make supportive sounds, and she'd never once ask, "So what's going on with you?" Not once. I started noticing other things, the way she'd check her phone constantly and angle it away from me. The late nights at the office that smelled like cologne that definitely wasn't hers. The friend named Jessica who texted her at 11 p.m. with messages that made her smile in ways I hadn't seen in years. I wasn't stupid, I was just busy. And honestly, I didn't care enough to fight about it. That's when you know a marriage is dead, by the way. Not when you fight. When you don't fight because the fight would require emotional investment you no longer have. I hired a PI around year 4. Not because I was jealous, because I needed documentation for the divorce I was already planning. Miranda said evidence of infidelity would make the asset division cleaner. The PI sent me photos within 2 weeks. Nora and some guy named Chad, because of course his name was Chad, at a hotel bar, at a restaurant, coming out of his apartment building at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday when she'd told me she was at a breakfast meeting. Chad worked at her firm. Senior associate, drove a Porsche, had a jawline that could cut glass and probably quoted Fight Club unironically. I looked at those photos and felt nothing. No anger, no hurt. Just this weird relief that I wasn't crazy for feeling like a stranger in my own marriage. The public humiliation started around year 5. We'd be at family dinners and she'd make jokes. "Oh, Eric's still doing his little computer thing. It's cute. Don't ask him about work. He'll bore you with tech stuff. He's very content with where he is. No big ambitions, which is fine. Not everyone can be a go-getter." She'd laugh. Everyone would laugh. And I'd smile like it was all good fun. My family ate it up because it confirmed what they already thought, that I was the mediocre one, the one who peaked at fine, the participation trophy kid who grew up to be a participation trophy adult. Amelia would chime in. "At least he's stable, Nora. That's worth something, right?" Stable, that word again. The word that means boring but harmless. Dad would nod sagely. "Stability is underrated. Not everyone can be exceptional." Mom would pat my hand. "We're proud of you, sweetie. Even if you're not, flashy." And Nora would squeeze my shoulder, this performative wifely gesture, and say, I wouldn't trade him for anything. Except she would, and did, regularly. For a guy named Chad who probably had a podcast about cryptocurrency. The worst part, I let it happen. Sat there, took it, smiled through it. Because I was playing a longer game than they could comprehend. Every insult was a data point. Every dismissal was evidence. Every public humiliation was another brick in the foundation of the monument I was building to their collective wrongness. By the time Amelia's wedding invitation arrived, gold-trimmed, pretentious, with a note that said, "Please don't embarrass us this time," like I'd ever been the embarrassing one, I was ready. The divorce papers were drafted. The assets were documented. The evidence was compiled. Everything Nora thought was ours, the house, the cars, the credit cards she'd maxed out buying clothes and funding her affair, was actually mine. My name on the deeds. My credit. My money. She had no idea. She thought she was married to Eric Morrison, the mediocre tech support guy who was lucky to have her. She had no idea she'd actually married Eric Morrison, the billionaire who'd been documenting her betrayal for years while building an empire she couldn't even comprehend. Miranda called me 2 weeks before the wedding. "Papers are ready. When do you want to serve her?" "After," I said. "After the wedding." "You sure? It's dramatic." "Miranda, I've been married to a woman who thinks I'm worthless for 7 years. I've earned dramatic." She'd laughed. "Fair enough. This is going to be messy." "Yeah," I'd said, thinking about fountains and gold tablecloths and families who thought humiliation was entertainment. "But it's going to be honest." And honestly, after 7 years of playing small, hiding who I was, letting people laugh at a version of me that didn't exist, honest sounded really, really good. Chapter 5. The Invitation to Hell. The invitation arrived on a Tuesday, which felt appropriate because Tuesdays are already terrible, and this just made it worse. Heavy cardstock. Gold embossing that probably cost more than a reasonable person's car payment. Amelia Morrison and Preston Whitmore IV, of course he's a IV, request the honor of your presence at their union. Inside, tucked between tissue paper that served no functional purpose except to say, "We're fancy," was a handwritten note from my sister. "Eric, please try to make a good impression this time. Preston's family is very important and connected. Business casual at minimum. And please, for once, don't be, awkward. Love, Amelia. Don't be awkward. I'd been breathing normally for 32 years, and my own sister was asking me to workshop it. Nora found the invitation on the kitchen counter and squealed. Actually squealed, like she was a teenager who'd just gotten asked to prom by the quarterback instead of a 30-year-old lawyer who'd been cheating on her husband for 2 years. Oh my God, Amelia's wedding. This is going to be incredible. The Fairmont. Eric, do you know how hard it is to book the Fairmont? I'm guessing expensive, I said, not looking up from my laptop. I was reviewing acquisition contracts that were more important than my sister's overpriced party, but sure, let's focus on venue scarcity. It's prestigious. God, what am I going to wear? I need something that photographs well. Maybe that Tadashi Shoji dress? No, wait, Amanda wore Tadashi to the Hendricks wedding last month. I can't repeat designers in the same social circle. She kept talking. I stopped listening around the time she started debating between champagne and blush as color options, which, as far as I could tell, were the same color, but one cost $400 more. Are you even listening? She'd appeared next to me, hand on hip, doing that thing where she pretended I was the problem. Absolutely, Tadashi, photographs, social circle. You're a vision. Don't patronize me. Wouldn't dream of it. She'd huffed, snatched the invitation back, and retreated to the bedroom to presumably consult her group chat about what says I'm important without saying I'm trying too hard. I went back to my contracts and tried not to smile. The thing about traps is they only work if you walk into them. And I was absolutely walking into this one. Eyes open, suit pressed, revenge locked and loaded. 3 weeks before the wedding, Nora announced she'd be going with her parents. We were having breakfast. Well, I was having breakfast. She was having black coffee and anxiety about fitting into whatever dress she'd finally chosen. My parents want to go up early, do the whole weekend thing. You understand, right? Sure, I said, spreading peanut butter on toast like my life wasn't a slow-motion car crash. You can just Uber to the ceremony. It's not a big deal. Totally not a big deal. Don't be like that. Like what? I agreed with you. You're doing that thing. What thing? That thing where you act all agreeable, but I can tell you're judging me. I looked at her. Really looked at her. This woman I'd married, who'd once called me sweet, who now couldn't stand to be in a car with me for a 2-hour drive. Nora, I'm not judging you. I genuinely don't care how I get there. Her face did something complicated. Like she'd wanted me to fight back so she could be mad, but my apathy had stolen her thunder. Fine, good. Great. She stood up, grabbed her coffee. I'll text you the details. She didn't text me the details. Amelia did, 3 days before the wedding. Ceremony at 4, reception at 6. Don't be late. Dress code is formal. Dad's renting a tux, you should too. Try to look polished. I texted back, I have a suit. I'll be polished, promise. She responded with a thumbs up emoji, which is sibling code for, I don't believe you, but I can't argue via text. I'd already picked my suit. Tom Ford, 3-piece, navy blue, so dark it was almost black. Custom fitted because when you're about to light your old life on fire, you should at least look good doing it. Ava saw it hanging in my apartment. Yeah, I'd gotten an apartment 2 months earlier, told Nora it was closer to work, which was true in the way that technically correct is still correct, and whistled. That's a burn-it-all-down suit if I've ever seen one. Think it's too much? I think it's perfect. She'd adjusted the collar, her fingers brushing my neck. You nervous? Terrified. Good, you should be. You're about to nuke your entire family dynamic. They nuked it first. I'm just returning fire. She'd smiled. So I'll see you there, 20 minutes after the fountain incident. 20 minutes after whatever happens, happens. You don't know what's going to happen? I know my family. Something's going to happen. They can't help themselves. I'd been right. The morning of the wedding, I woke up in my apartment alone. Made coffee, did 45 minutes on the Peloton that I'd bought with money my wife didn't know I had. Showered, shaved, put on that Tom Ford suit, and looked at myself in the mirror. I looked good, like really good. Like a man who'd been hiding in plain sight for 32 years and was finally ready to be seen. My phone buzzed. Ava, break a leg or a fountain. Whatever feels right. I'd laughed, texted back, see you on the other side. Then I'd called an Uber, not a regular Uber, the fancy one with the nice cars, and headed to the Fairmont Copley Plaza to watch my sister get married and my old life die. The driver made small talk. I made it back. He asked if I was in the wedding party. Nah, I said, watching Boston slide past the window. Just the entertainment. He'd laughed like I was joking. I wasn't. The hotel was exactly as pretentious as I'd imagined. Marble everything. Chandeliers that probably had their own insurance policies. Staff members who smiled like they were getting paid to tolerate you, which, to be fair, they were. I saw my family in the lobby. Dad in a tux that probably cost more than the average monthly rent. Mom in something cream-colored and lacy that screamed mother of the bride. Amelia looking nervous and perfect in a dress that likely had its own zip code. I waved. They didn't wave back. Preston's family was there. Old money written all over them like a designer label. They looked at me the way you look at a stain you're trying to politely ignore. I took my seat. Back row. Where I belonged, apparently. The ceremony was fine, pretty, expensive, every detail calculated to impress. Amelia cried. Preston cried. His mom cried. My mom cried. Dad checked his phone twice. And I sat there thinking about fountains in 20 minutes and the look on their faces when they realized who they'd been laughing at. The cocktail hour was when I should have known, should have seen it coming. But honestly, I wanted to be surprised. I wanted to see exactly what they'd do when given the chance to humiliate me one more time. Spoiler alert, they didn't disappoint. The cocktail hour was being held in this room that looked like a Baroque painter had thrown up gold leaf and crystal. Everywhere you looked, chandeliers, mirrors, ornate molding that probably took some poor artisan 6 months to install. The kind of room where you're afraid to breathe too hard in case you damage something priceless. I grabbed a whiskey from the bar, top shelf, because if I'm going down with good bourbon, and tried to blend into the wallpaper. Didn't work. Eric, my cousin Madison appeared, already 3 champagnes deep, judging by her volume. Oh my God, you came! And you came alone? She said, alone, the way you'd say, with a communicable disease. Yep, flying solo tonight. Where's Nora? Around somewhere. We came separately. Her eyes went wide. Ooh, trouble in paradise? Something like that. Well, you do look good. New suit? Thanks. Yeah, picked it up recently. Tom Ford? I blinked. Madison couldn't tell the difference between Zara and Zegna on her best day. How'd you... I'm drunk, not blind. That's like a $3,000 suit. She leaned in, conspiratorial. Eric Morrison, are you having a midlife crisis? Did you buy a motorcycle too? I'm 32, bit early for midlife. Never too early for a crisis, babe. She patted my cheek and wandered off to terrorize someone else. I found a spot near the decorative fountain, the one that would later become famous in my personal history, and watched the circus. Preston's family held court like they were visiting dignitaries from the kingdom of inherited wealth. Preston's dad, Preston Whitmore III, because apparently they just keep making them, kept saying things like capital appreciation and portfolio diversification to anyone who'd listen. My dad was listening, nodding enthusiastically, probably taking mental notes for conversations at his club. Mom was air-kissing Preston's mom, comparing notes on which charity galas they'd both attended. It was like watching 2 peacocks negotiate a territory dispute through compliments about each other's feathers. Amelia floated through the crowd, bridal glow on full blast, accepting congratulations like a queen receiving tribute. She saw me, waved vaguely, and kept moving. Par for the course. Then I spotted Nora. She was holding court near the bar with her parents and a cluster of her law firm friends. Wearing a dress that definitely wasn't the Tadashi Shoji, this was something else. Something red and tight and designed to make sure every eye in the room found her. Mission accomplished, I guess. She was laughing. That performed laugh. The one that traveled. I watched some guy in a gray suit, probably another Preston clone, lean in close, whisper something. She touched his arm, threw her head back, laughed louder. Her mother saw me watching and smiled. Not a nice smile. The kind of smile sharks probably have before they bite. I lifted my whiskey in a mock toast. She said something to Nora. Nora turned, saw me, and her face did something complicated, like she'd forgotten I existed and wasn't thrilled about the reminder. She excused herself from her group and walked over, tottering a bit. The drinks were flowing, and she'd clearly been keeping pace. Eric, Nora, you actually came. I was invited. Wild concept, I know. Don't be a smartass. She looked me up and down. Nice suit. Finally decided to dress like an adult. Thought I'd make an effort. Big day for Amelia and all. She sipped her champagne. You know, people were asking where you were. I told them you were probably running late. Didn't want to admit my husband couldn't even coordinate transportation like a normal person. Well, I'm here now. Crisis averted. You could have come with us, with my parents, but you had to be difficult. I wanted to say a lot of things. Wanted to mention that she'd explicitly told me to Uber myself. Wanted to point out that we hadn't had a real conversation in 6 months. Wanted to ask if Jessica, knew she was married. But I didn't. Because the thing about revenge is it requires patience. And I'd been patient for 7 years. I could manage 40 more minutes. You're right, I said. My bad. She blinked, thrown by my agreement. Oh, well, good. You look nice, by the way. Red's your color. Thanks. She softened slightly, which probably said terrible things about our relationship. That basic decency registered as remarkable. You really do clean up okay when you try. High praise. Don't push it. But she was smiling. Sort of. The drinks had made her generous. Come on, let's go find our table. Try not to embarrass me, okay? We walked into the ballroom together, her hand hovering near my elbow without quite touching it. And I felt this weird sadness. Not for what we were, but for what we could have been if either of us had been different people. The ballroom was even more ridiculous than the cocktail room. Ceiling painted like the Sistine Chapel, if the Sistine Chapel was really into gold and crystal. Tables arranged in perfect circles, each one dressed like it was going to the Met Gala. The fountain, oh, that blessed fountain, sat at the room's center like a monument to excess. Marble cherubs, multiple tiers, water cascading down in a way that definitely violated some physics law, but looked Instagram ready. I should have known then. Should have seen it coming. But I was too busy calculating time. Ava would arrive in about 45 minutes. The plan was for her to text when she was 15 minutes out. Give me time to whatever was about to happen. We found our table. Table 12. Not the head table where Nora desperately wanted to be. Not even close to the head table. We were seated with some of Preston's distant cousins, who looked like they'd rather be literally anywhere else. Nora's face when she saw the table number was priceless. Table 12? We're at table 12? Looks like it. We're family. So your sister put us at table 12 like we're random acquaintances. Technically, I'm family. You're family by marriage. Don't. She pointed a finger at me. Don't start. I didn't start. Just sat down, nodded at Preston's cousin, whoever, and waited. Dinner was served. Fancy food in tiny portions that cost a fortune and left you hungry. The speeches began. Preston's dad talked about legacy and tradition. My dad talked about Amelia's accomplishments with a brief mention of her brother Eric, who's here somewhere. That got a polite laugh. Amelia's maid of honor gave a speech about their friendship. Preston gave a speech about finding his soulmate. Amelia gave a speech thanking everyone, specifically thanking Mom, Dad, and Preston's incredible family, while somehow forgetting to mention me at all. Nora leaned over. Did she seriously not mention you? Guess she forgot. Wow. That's cold even for your family. Coming from her, that was rich. But I just shrugged. The DJ started up. First dance, father-daughter dance, mother-son dance, all the traditions that make weddings feel like expensive performance art. Then the dance floor opened up and people flooded it like someone had announced free money. I stayed seated, drinking my whiskey, watching. Nora disappeared to the bathroom or to find her friends or to make out with gray suit guy in a coat closet. Honestly didn't care which. That's when my father materialized. He had that look, that CEO look. The one that says, I'm about to give you feedback you didn't ask for and won't enjoy. Eric, Dad, having a good time? It's a wedding. I'm having the mandatory amount of good time. He didn't laugh. I ran into Preston's father earlier. Very impressive man. Built his firm from the ground up. Real go-getter. Made me think, when are you going to do something like that? Something significant? I looked at him, really looked at him. This man who'd spent 32 years making me feel like I wasn't enough. Define significant. You know what I mean. Something that matters. Something people talk about. You're smart enough, you just lack ambition, drive. You're too comfortable being comfortable. Right. I'm serious, son. At some point, you need to ask yourself, if you're satisfied being mediocre, if this is really all you want from life. The thing was, he believed it, genuinely believed I was mediocre, because I'd never corrected him, never shown him otherwise. And God, it was going to feel good when he found out. I'll keep that in mind, I said. You do that. He clapped my shoulder, that patronizing clap, and walked away to network with people he deemed important. I checked my phone. Text from Ava. 30 minutes out. How's it going? Perfect, I texted back. Right on schedule. That's when I saw them. Nora, her mother, and Gray Suit Guy, huddled near the bar, talking, laughing, looking my direction. Nora's mother said something. They all laughed harder. Then Nora started walking toward me, purpose in her step, her friends trailing behind like an entourage. I stood up, set down my whiskey. Eric! She was loud now, performative. The alcohol and audience had given her confidence. There you are, hiding? Just sitting, that's not hiding. You should dance. Come on, dance with your wife. She grabbed my hand, tried to pull me toward the dance floor. I didn't move. Come on, she insisted, pulling harder. I'm good here. God, you're so boring. She dropped my hand, turned to her friends. See? This is what I deal with. Boring Eric. Can't even dance at a wedding. Her mother chimed in. Well, someone has to be the responsible one, I suppose. Responsible? Nora laughed. More like antisocial. Honestly, Eric, you could at least try to have fun. People were watching now. The scene was drawing attention. Exactly what she wanted. I'm having fun, I said quietly. You're having fun sitting alone at table 12 like a loser? The word hung there. Loser. My father appeared from somewhere. Everything okay here? Fine, I said. Eric's just being Eric, Nora announced. Party pooper extraordinaire. Dad sighed. Son, it's your sister's wedding. Could you at least make an effort? I made an effort. I showed up. You showed up alone, he said, looking miserable. Do you know how that reflects on us? On us? I laughed. Couldn't help it. Dad, I don't think anyone here's thinking about you when they look at me. His face hardened. That attitude, right there, that's your problem. You think you're above everything. I don't think I'm above anything. I just think maybe we could get through one family event without making me the joke. Nobody's making you a joke, Amelia said, appearing with Preston. You're being weird, again. How am I being weird? I'm literally just standing here. Exactly. Nora threw her hands up. Standing there, alone, being awkward. Even your reflection wouldn't date you. That got a huge laugh. Preston's cousins, Nora's friends, random guests who'd tuned in for the drama. My father shook his head. Disappointed. Always disappointed. And Nora, drunk, emboldened, playing to her audience, stepped closer. You know what? Maybe if you tried being fun for once, being interesting, being someone, she pushed me. Not hard, not violent. But I was standing near the fountain with the marble edge and the cascading water and the cherubs that probably cost more than a Honda Civic. I lost my balance, backward into the water. Cold. So cold, like jumping into a lake in November. The water hit my face, my chest, soaked through my Tom Ford suit in about 1.2 seconds. I heard the crowd gasp, then laugh, then roar with laughter. Someone yelled, "Cannonball!" Someone else started clapping. The DJ, that beautiful, oblivious idiot, actually played a splash sound effect. I surfaced, water streaming off me, hair plastered to my head, $3,000 suit completely ruined. The ballroom was chaos. People recording on phones. Preston looked mortified, but trying not to laugh. Amelia had her hand over her mouth. My father was shaking his head. My mother looked like I'd personally insulted her ancestors. And Nora? She was doubled over, crying, laughing, her friends surrounding her, all of them dying. Oh my God, she gasped. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean, but she couldn't finish because she was laughing too hard. I stood there in the fountain, dripping, looking at every face that had spent 32 years telling me I wasn't enough. And I smiled. Not a defeated smile, not an embarrassed smile, the smile of a man who knows exactly what's about to happen next. I stepped out of the fountain, water pouring off me, shoes squeaking. The laughter continued. rolling through the ballroom like a wave. I walked toward them, slowly, water dripping on marble. The laughter started to falter. Something in my expression, maybe. Something that made people's internal alarm bells whisper, "Wait!" I stopped right in front of Nora, looked her in the eyes, then my father, then Amelia. And I said, calm as a Sunday morning, "Don't forget this moment." Pause. Let it breathe. Because I won't. Then I turned and walked out of that ballroom with wet footprints tracking behind me like breadcrumbs. Behind me, the laughter died. Not completely, but enough. Enough that the silence underneath it sounded like doubt. I checked my phone in the hallway, water dripping on the screen. Text from Ava, 15 minutes out. Still good? I smiled, a real smile this time. Perfect, I typed. See you soon. Then I walked into the men's room, looked at myself in the mirror, soaking wet, expensive suit ruined, hair disaster, and started laughing. Because in 15 minutes, every single person in that ballroom was going to learn what a real splash looked like. I spent 15 minutes in the bathroom trying to look less like a drowned rat and more like a man in control of his destiny. Failed on both counts, but at least I got most of the fountain water out of my hair. My phone buzzed. Ava, pulling up now, you ready? Was I ready? I'd been ready for 7 years. I'd been ready since my father told 8-year-old me that winners don't cry when they come in second place. I'd been ready since Nora called me boring at our rehearsal dinner while everyone laughed. Born ready, I texted back. I looked at myself in the mirror one more time. The Tom Ford suit was trashed. Designer label, ruined by fountain water and family dysfunction. Poetic, really. But underneath the wet fabric, I was still standing, still breathing, still the guy who'd built an empire. While everyone thought he was building spreadsheets, I walked back toward the ballroom. Could hear the music thumping, the party back in full swing. They'd already moved on, already forgotten about the guy in the fountain, because that's what I was to them. A momentary entertainment. A story they'd tell at brunch tomorrow. Remember when Nora pushed Eric into the fountain? Oh my God, his face. I stood in the doorway, watched them dance and drink and celebrate. Nora was on the dance floor with Gray Suit Guy. My father was networking. Amelia and Preston were cutting the cake while people cheered. None of them saw me. Of course they didn't. Then I heard it. Outside, through the lobby, the sound of engines, expensive engines. I walked to the front entrance. The hotel staff was already moving, that quick, efficient shuffle that happens when someone important arrives. 3 vehicles pulled up to the Fairmont's entrance. A black Rolls-Royce Phantom, the kind that costs more than most people's houses, flanked by 2 Mercedes SUVs that screamed, "Security detail." The valets froze, like literally stopped moving. One of them actually adjusted his bow tie. The Phantom's back door opened. She stepped out like a movie star hitting a premiere, and I swear to God, time slowed down. Ava Reeves, 6 feet tall in heels. White silk gown that probably cost more than the entire wedding budget. Hair pulled back in this elegant updo that made her look like old Hollywood and New Money had a baby. Diamond earrings, real ones, the kind that come with insurance policies and armed guards. She looked like power, like success, like everything my family pretended to be, but never actually achieved. The hotel staff snapped to attention. "Ms. Reeves, welcome to the Fairmont." "Thank you," she said, voice smooth and confident. "I'm here for the Morrison wedding." She saw me standing there, soaking wet, probably smelling like chlorine and revenge. And she smiled. Not a polite smile, a knowing smile. She walked straight to me, past the stammering valets, past the gawking doormen, past every single person who suddenly realized something significant was happening. "Sorry I'm late, love." She said it loud enough for everyone to hear, reached up, touched my wet collar, and kissed me. Not a peck. A real kiss. The kind that makes a statement. The board meeting ran long. Board meeting. She said it casually, like it was just another Tuesday. Not like it was the board meeting of one of the biggest tech acquisitions in recent history. Behind us, the security detail from the SUVs moved into position. Professional. Discreet. The kind of security that doesn't need to flex, because everyone already knows they're there. I heard gasps from the lobby. Hotel guests pulling out phones. This was better than checking in. This was a moment. "You okay?" Ava asked quietly, just for me. "Wet, but yeah." The suit's trashed. It was worth it. Good. She took my hand. Ready to go remind them who they've been laughing at? Let's do this. We walked back toward the ballroom together. Ava in her white gown, me in my soaked Tom Ford suit, trailing water and destiny. The security team followed at a respectful distance. Not close enough to be obvious. Close enough to make a point. People noticed. How could they not? We looked like a music video budget, and a divorce lawyer's wet dream had merged into one walking statement. We entered the ballroom. The music was still playing. People were still dancing. But like a ripple effect, heads started turning. First the people near the entrance, then their neighbors, then their neighbors. The DJ, bless him, actually stopped the music mid-song, just stopped, like his brain couldn't process what his eyes were seeing. The dance floor cleared, everyone turning, staring at me, soaking wet, at Ava, impossibly elegant, at the two of us together, holding hands, looking like we'd stepped out of a different reality than the one they inhabited. I saw Nora's face, frozen, champagne glass halfway to her mouth, her brain clearly trying to compute what was happening. My father's expression, confusion with the side of wait, what? Amelia's face, bridezilla panic because someone was upstaging her at her own wedding. Preston's parents, old money shock, which is like regular shock, but with better posture. Ava surveyed the room, took it all in, then smiled, the kind of smile that could freeze vodka. Good evening, she said. Her voice carried, confident, unbothered. I'm so sorry we're late. Traffic was murder. She said we. My mother found her voice first. I'm sorry, who? Ava Reeves. She extended her hand like she was granting an audience. Eric's partner. The word hung there. Partner. Not girlfriend. Not date. Partner. Mom shook her hand on autopilot. Partner, Eric, who is this? This is Ava, I said. Calm, steady. My business partner. And yes, also my girlfriend. Should have probably mentioned that. Nora materialized from the crowd, still holding her champagne, face doing complicated things. Business partner? Eric, what are you talking about? Ava turned to her, assessed her in about 1.5 seconds. You must be Nora. I've heard so much about you. The way she said it, so polite, so perfectly professional. With just enough ice underneath to make it clear she'd heard everything about Nora, and none of it was impressive. Yes, I'm his wife. Soon to be ex-wife, I corrected. The papers were filed 3 weeks ago. Your lawyer should have them by Monday. You could have heard a pin drop. Hell, you could have heard a thought drop. Nora's face went white, then red, then this weird purple color I'd never seen before. You filed for divorce? Yep, without telling me. You were busy. Didn't want to interrupt your quality time with Chad from your firm. More gasps. Someone's grandmother clutched her pearls, literally clutched them. Nora's mother stepped forward. Now just wait a minute. No, you wait. Ava's voice cut through the room like a scalpel. Still polite, but with steel underneath. Let me clarify something. Eric isn't who you think he is. He's not the family loser you've been mocking. He's not the mediocre tech support guy you've been laughing at. My father. Now see here, young lady. I'm not finished. Ava didn't raise her voice. Didn't need to. The room was dead silent. Eric Morrison is the founder and CEO of Northline Systems. Perhaps you've heard of it? Blank stares. Of course. They hadn't heard of it. Why would they? It wasn't in their world of derivatives and law firms and trust funds. We sold the company in March, Ava continued, to Apex Technologies for $8.4 billion. Someone dropped a glass. The crash echoed. Billion. Ava repeated. With a B, my sister. That's not possible. Eric works in IT. He's a billionaire, Ava said simply. Has been for about 8 months now. He just didn't tell you because he wanted to see who valued him for who he is, not what he's worth. She turned to address the room. All of them. Every person who'd laughed. And from what I saw when I walked in, him standing alone, soaking wet while you all laughed, I'd say he made the right call keeping it quiet. Preston's father cleared his throat. Now, this is quite a claim. Do you have any proof? Edmund, Ava said, and Preston's father's eyes widened at her use of his first name. I'm the CTO and co-founder of Northline Systems. I was just at a board meeting. Would you like me to call the CEO of Apex Technologies? I have him on speed dial. Or perhaps you'd prefer I have our legal team send over documentation. She pulled out her phone. Actual power move. I can conference him in right now if you'd like. That won't be necessary, Edmund stammered. Ava pocketed her phone, turned to my father. You must be Richard. Eric's told me about you. You think ambition is loud, that success needs to announce itself. You raised your children to compete for your attention like it was a commodity to be earned. My father's face was brick red. I don't think I like your tone. I don't think I care. Still polite. Still devastating. You told your son tonight that he lacks drive, that he's too comfortable being comfortable, that he should ask himself if being mediocre is all he wants from life. She stepped closer to him. Your mediocre son is worth $3 billion. What are you worth, Richard? Silence, the kind that hurts your ears. That's what I thought. Ava turned to Nora. And you. You pushed him into a fountain tonight, humiliated him, laughed with your friends while he stood there, soaking wet, and smiled through it. Nora's voice was small. I was drunk. I didn't mean... You meant it. You've been meaning it for years. The little digs, the public mockery, the affair with your coworker that you thought he didn't know about. Ava pulled out her phone again, scrolled. Chad Remington, senior associate at Beckman Price LLP. You've been seeing him for 2 years, spending money from joint accounts to fund your dates, hotels, dinners. That Miami trip you said was a girls' weekend. She showed the phone to Nora. Photos. The ones from my paie. Nora turned green. Eric's lawyer has all of this, Ava said, along with documentation that every asset you've been enjoying, the house, the cars, the credit cards, is in his name. You owe nothing. You've earned nothing. You've just been spending his money while treating him like garbage. She turned to address the whole room again. This hotel, the Fairmont Copley Plaza? Ava smiled. It's owned by a holding company. Want to guess which holding company? Amelia. No. Oh, yes. Eric owns the venue your wedding is being held in. Has for 6 months. He could have mentioned it. Could have asked for a discount on your booking. But he didn't. Because he's not petty. She looked at me. Though you probably should be. I shrugged. I have my moments. Ava turned back to the stunned crowd. The security detail outside, they're not for me. They're for him. Because when you're worth $3 billion, you need security. Especially at family events where people might push you into fountains. My mother finally found her voice. Eric, is this true? I looked at her, this woman who'd spent 32 years prioritizing appearances over actual parenting. Yeah, Mom, it's true. But why didn't you tell us? I wanted to see if you loved me when you thought I was worthless. I paused. Turns out you didn't. So now you get to see me actually worth something and know you missed it. My father. Son, I think you're being unfair. Unfair? I laughed, actually laughed. Dad, you told me tonight I lack ambition. You've spent my entire life making me feel like I'm not enough. You compared me to Amelia every chance you got. You dismissed everything I did as that computer thing, while praising her for getting a job at a firm your friend recommended her for. I stepped forward, water still dripping. I built something from nothing. While you were networking at your club and Mom was attending charity lunches, I was building a company that changed an entire industry, and you never noticed, never asked, never cared. Amelia, Eric, that's not fair. We're your family. Family! I turned to her. Amelia, you didn't mention me in your wedding speech. You literally thanked everyone except me. You wrote, "Don't embarrass us," on my invitation. You seated me at table 12 like I was a distant acquaintance you felt obligated to invite. Her eyes filled with tears. I didn't know. That's the point. You didn't know because you never bothered to look. The room was silent. Even the staff had stopped moving. Ava squeezed my hand. We should go. Yeah. I looked at all of them one last time. Enjoy the reception. The venue's paid for. Consider it my wedding gift. I started to walk away, then stopped, turned back. Oh, and Nora, security will escort you from the hotel. You're no longer welcome on any property I own, which, as of this morning, includes your apartment building. You have 30 days to relocate. Your belongings will be placed in storage. My lawyer will be in touch. Nora's mouth opened, closed, opened again. No words came out. Anyone who filmed me in the fountain tonight? I raised my voice. My legal team will be filing harassment claims by Monday. Enjoy your weekend. Then I walked out, Ava beside me. Security detail falling into step. Behind us, the ballroom erupted into chaos. Voices overlapping, someone crying, someone yelling. We walked through the lobby, through the doors, into the cool Boston night. The Phantom was waiting, door open, like a portal to a different life. I turned to look at the Fairmont one last time. Through the windows, I could see the ballroom, the people, the confusion, the realization dawning on faces that had spent years assuming I was nothing. How do you feel? Ava asked. Wet, she laughed. Besides that, I thought about it, really thought about it. Free, I said finally. I feel free. Good. She kissed me again, softer this time. Let's go home. We got in the Phantom. The door closed. The world outside became muffled. As we pulled away from the Fairmont, I watched the lights fade in the rearview mirror. Somewhere in that ballroom, my family was having the worst night of their lives, and I'd never felt better in mine. The drive should have felt triumphant, should have felt like a victory lap in a $500,000 car with leather seats that probably cost more than my first apartment. Instead, it felt quiet, not bad quiet, just quiet. Ava was on her phone, typing rapid-fire messages to our legal team. Security was in the SUVs behind us. The driver, Marcus, who'd been with us for 4 months and had definitely seen weirder things than a soaking wet billionaire, kept his eyes on the road. I stared out the window, watched Boston slide past, thinking about fountains and families and the specific kind of loneliness that comes from being invisible to people who share your DNA. Miranda wants to know if you were serious about the harassment claims, Ava said, not looking up from her phone. Dead serious. There are at least 40 videos of the fountain incident. They're already going viral on social media. Fountain guy is trending. Of course it was. Can we get them taken down? Some of them, the ones that include identifiable faces without consent. But Eric, she looked at me. The internet is forever. This is out there now. Great, I'm a meme. You're a billionaire meme. There's a difference. She went back to typing. Miranda's drafting cease and desist letters for anyone who monetizes the footage. We can't stop people from sharing it, but we can make sure they don't profit from humiliating you. What about the whole coming out as rich thing? That gonna blow up too? Oh, that's already blowing up. Business Insider just published a piece. Secret billionaire revealed at sister's wedding after fountain incident. Forbes is calling for comment. TechCrunch wants an exclusive. I groan, I really didn't think this through. You thought it through fine. You just didn't account for the internet's obsession with dramatic reveals and public humiliation. She smiled. Though I gotta say, the fountain was a nice touch. Very symbolic. Baptism into your new life. I didn't plan the fountain. I know, that's what makes it perfect. My phone started buzzing, like constantly. Text after text. Call after call. I looked at the screen, 15 missed calls from my father, 8 from my mother, 23 from Nora. 47 text messages from various family members, most of which started with, "What the hell?" or "Is this real?" or my personal favorite from my cousin Madison. "OMG, you're rich? Can I borrow money?" I turned the phone off. Smart, Ava said. "I'll deal with it tomorrow," or never. Never sounds good. We pulled up to my building, the one I'd been living in for 2 months. Nice building, not flashy, the kind of place where wealthy people live who don't need to prove they're wealthy. The kind of place I could have afforded to buy outright but chose to rent because I still wasn't used to having buy a building money. Marcus opened the door. "Have a good evening, Mr. Morrison." "Thanks, Marcus. Sorry about the wet seats." "Sir, I once drove a tech CEO who got caught in a paintball fight with his board of directors. Your fountain water is nothing." I liked Marcus. We took the elevator to the penthouse. My penthouse. Which still felt weird to say. Ava had her own place across town, bigger, fancier, with actual art that wasn't just a thing I bought at Target because the wall looked empty. But she'd been staying over more lately. Had a toothbrush in my bathroom, clothes in my closet. That thing where you don't officially live together, but you kind of do. I went straight to the bedroom, peeled off the wet Tom Ford suit, $3,000 completely trashed. I should have felt bad about it. I didn't. I took a shower, hot water, expensive soap that Ava had bought because you can't be a billionaire and use Irish Spring, Eric. Washed away the fountain water, the chlorine smell, the last physical remnants of the worst and best night of my life. When I came out, towel around my waist, hair still wet, Ava was sitting on the couch with her laptop. She'd changed into sweats and one of my hoodies. Still looked expensive somehow. So, she said, not looking up, your family is imploding on social media. Do I want to know? Probably not, but I'm going to tell you anyway. She turned the laptop toward me. Your sister's wedding hashtag, Amelia and Preston, is now filled with people talking about you instead of her. There are at least 6 TikToks analyzing the class dynamics of the fountain incident. Someone made a mashup of you standing in the fountain set to Survivors by Destiny's Child. That's actually kind of funny. It gets better. Preston's family is doing damage control. Apparently being associated with new money tech drama, their words, is bad for their image. They're trying to distance themselves from the whole thing. Poor Amelia. You don't sound that sympathetic. I'm not. I sat down next to her. She had 32 years to be a decent sister. She chose not to be. Ava closed the laptop, looked at me, really looked at me. You okay? Like, actually okay? Was I okay? I just nuked every relationship with my biological family, exposed my wife's affair in front of 200 people, revealed a secret I'd been keeping for years, became an internet meme, owned my humiliation and turned it into a power move. Yeah, I said, and meant it. Yeah, I think I am. No regrets? About the fountain or the reveal? Both. I thought about it. The fountain was involuntary, but the reveal? No regrets. They needed to know. I needed them to know that you're worth $3 billion, that I'm worth something. I leaned back. Money's it's just the metric they understand. If I'd become a successful artist or a teacher or whatever, they wouldn't care. But billions? That they get. That's their language. So you spoke their language. Loudly, she laughed, snuggled into my side. We sat there for a minute, just breathing, just existing in the quiet. Then her phone rang. She looked at it. It's Miranda. Answer it. She put it on speaker. Hey, Miranda. Eric. Miranda's voice was all business, always was. I've got updates. You sitting down? Yeah. Okay. First, the divorce. Nora's lawyer called. She's contesting the filing. Claims she didn't know about your assets and wants to renegotiate the settlement. I laughed. Couldn't help it. She wants to renegotiate after I caught her cheating? Her lawyer's argument is that you concealed assets, which technically you did, and that she's entitled to half of everything acquired during the marriage. Everything was acquired during the marriage. I know, which is why her lawyer thinks she has a case. Miranda paused. She doesn't. The prenup you signed covers exactly this scenario. She gets nothing except what was explicitly outlined, which is the car she drives and her personal possessions. Everything else is yours. Wait, we had a prenup? You don't remember signing it? Miranda, that was 7 years ago, and I was terrified of marriage. I signed whatever you put in front of me. Well, past Eric was smarter than present Eric gives him credit for. The prenup is ironclad. Separate property clauses, infidelity provisions, the works. She'll fight it, but she'll lose. How long will it take? With her contesting, 6 months, maybe 8. But Eric, she's got no leverage. The evidence of the affair is documented. The financial records are clear. She spent joint account money, your money, on her boyfriend. That's actually financial infidelity in a legal sense. She's lucky you're not countersuing. I'm not vindictive. You literally exposed her affair at your sister's wedding. That was truth-telling. Different thing. Miranda snorted. Sure. Anyway, second item, the harassment claims. I've identified 32 accounts that posted the fountain video. We're sending cease and desist letters to anyone who's trying to monetize it. Ads and sponsorships, whatever. For the regular people who just shared it, there's not much we can do. First Amendment and all. What about the people who were laughing? Recording? Harder to prove. Laughing at someone isn't illegal. Recording in a public space, which a wedding technically is, also not illegal. But anyone who posted the video with malicious commentary or tagged you specifically, could potentially face defamation claims. Is it worth it? Honestly, no. You'll look petty, and you'll be fighting 40 different legal battles against people who probably can't even afford lawyers. Better to let it die naturally. I sighed. She was right. Fine, what else? Third item, your family. Your father's lawyer called. My father has a lawyer calling you. Apparently, wants to discuss the misunderstanding and explore reconciliation. Reconciliation. I tasted the word. It was bitter. Let me guess. Now that he knows I have money, he suddenly wants to reconcile? That would be my professional assessment, yes. Tell his lawyer no. Eric, tell them no, Miranda. I don't want reconciliation. I don't want discussions. I don't want anything from them except distance. Silence on the line, then. You sure they're still your family? Family is supposed to love you when you're nobody. They didn't. So now that I'm somebody, they don't get to pretend they did. That's actually pretty healthy boundaries for someone who just burned down their life at a wedding. I'm growing as a person. Apparently. She paused. Okay, last item. The press. Everyone wants a statement. Forbes, Business Insider, TechCrunch, Wall Street Journal. Even TMZ called, which is old. TMZ. Rich person drama is their brand now. What do you want me to tell them? Tell them Eric Morrison has no comment, and that Northline Systems' sale was completed months ago through proper channels, and that my personal life is personal. They're going to run stories anyway. I know, but at least they'll run them without my participation. Fair enough. Miranda's keyboard clicked in the background. Oh, one more thing. The hotel? What about it? You told everyone you own it. That's not technically true. Your holding company owns a 30% stake in the parent company that owns the hotel chain that the Fairmont belongs to. Miranda, that's basically ownership. That's basically fractional investment in a diversified portfolio. If they ask, they won't ask. They don't understand how holding companies work. You'd be surprised what angry people Google. Let them Google. I'm not lying. I have ownership stake in the venue. That's accurate. Technically accurate. The best kind of accurate. She laughed. Okay, I think that's everything. Try to get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be a circus. Looking forward to it. Liar. She hung up. Ava was looking at me. You really not going to talk to your family? Nope. Not even your mom? Especially not my mom. She had 32 years to be a mother. She was too busy worrying about what the country club thought. That's cold. That's honest. I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at Boston. All those lights. All those lives. They made their choice, Ava. Every time they laughed at me, every time they dismissed me, every time they made me feel like I wasn't enough, those were choices. And tonight you made yours. Tonight I told the truth. I turned to face her. I'm done hiding. Done pretending to be less than I am to make other people comfortable. Done being the family joke. She smiled, stood up, walked over to me. You know what I love about you? My sparkling personality, my boyish charm, my recently acquired billions. You're still making jokes. After everything. You're standing here, soaking wet earlier, now dry, having just detonated your entire family structure, and you're making jokes. It's a coping mechanism. It's perfect. She kissed me. Soft, sweet. For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. Yeah? Yeah. They deserve to know who they'd been laughing at. And you deserve to stop hiding. We stood there, a window light reflecting off buildings. City humming below. My phone, which I'd turned back on like an idiot, buzzed again. Text from my father. We need to talk. This is ridiculous. Call me. Text from my mother. Eric, sweetheart, I think there's been a terrible misunderstanding. Can we please discuss this like adults? Text from Amelia. You ruined my wedding. I will never forgive you. Text from Nora. Please call me. We can work this out. I love you. I showed Ava the last one. She loves me, apparently. She loves your bank account. Same thing in her mind. I deleted all the texts, blocked most of the numbers, kept my mom and Amelia unblocked, not because I planned to respond, but because I wanted to see them try. So what now? Ava asked. Now we sleep. Tomorrow we deal with whatever fallout happens. Monday, Miranda handles the legal stuff. And after that, I shrugged. After that, we live our lives, the real ones. not the performance for people who don't actually care. Sounds good to me. We went to bed. My expensive bed in my expensive apartment that I'd bought with money from a company my family didn't know existed. And I slept better than I had in 7 years because rock bottom, turns out, isn't a place where you drown. It's a place where you finally stop pretending you can't swim. Chapter 9, The Departure. I woke up to 17 missed calls and a Twitter notification that I was trending. Not trending in a, oh, look, an interesting tech CEO way. Trending in a, holy crap, this guy's life is a reality show way. The hashtag was Chech Fountain Billionaire, because of course it was. Ava was already up, sitting at the kitchen island with her laptop and a coffee that probably cost more than it should. She looked up when I stumbled in. Morning, sunshine. You're famous. How famous are we talking? Good Morning America wants an interview. Famous. The New York Times wrote a think piece about wealth inequality and family dynamics. Famous. Someone made a Spotify playlist called Songs to Get Pushed into Fountains to Famous. I poured myself coffee. That last one's actually kind of funny. It has 40,000 followers. Okay, that's less funny. She turned her laptop toward me. The screen showed a Twitter thread with like 50,000 retweets. The first tweet was a photo, grainy, taken from someone's phone, of me standing in the fountain, water streaming off me. That look on my face. The one right before I said, "Don't forget this moment." The caption, "This man just got pushed into a fountain by his wife at his sister's wedding." 20 minutes later, he pulled up in a Rolls Royce with his billionaire girlfriend and revealed he's worth $3 billion. The most savage revenge arc of 2025. The thread went on. Screenshots of the Northline Systems sale. Photos of Ava in her white gown. Speculation about the family dynamics. Someone had even found my LinkedIn profile from 2018 where I listed my job as senior systems engineer and compared it to recent Forbes articles about the Apex acquisition. The internet had done what the internet does, turned my personal tragedy into public entertainment. There's more, Ava said, scrolling. Your sister posted a statement. She pulled up Instagram. Amelia's account. Perfectly curated, exactly the kind of aesthetic-focused feed you'd expect. Had a new post. Not a wedding photo, just text on a white background to everyone asking, "Yes, that was my brother at my wedding." No, we had no idea about his financial situation. Yes, it was inappropriate for him to make such an announcement during my special day. We are dealing with this privately as a family and ask for respect during this difficult time. Family. Boundaries. Hush, hush, privacy, please. I stared at it, read it twice, then laughed. Difficult time, I said. I'm having a difficult time. She's having a difficult time. It's got 45,000 comments, Ava said. Most of them are not sympathetic to her. She scrolled through the comments. She was right. Girl, your family pushed him into a fountain and laughed. Don't play victim. Maybe if you'd been a better sister, you would have known. Just saying. Imagine being mad that your brother is successful. Couldn't be me. The audacity to post this after what happened. Read the room. There were some supporters, mostly people defending her right to have her wedding day be about her. But they were drowned out by the tide of people who'd seen the videos, read the threads, and decided I was the underdog hero of this story. Which was weird. I didn't feel like a hero. I felt like a guy who'd finally had enough and set his life on fire out of spite and principle. Your dad posted something too, Ava said, pulling up Facebook. Richard Morrison's profile. Professional photo, business casual. The kind of headshot that says, "I'm important in rooms you're not allowed in." His post was longer, more formal. I'm deeply disappointed in the events of last evening. While I'm proud of any success my son has achieved, I'm troubled by the manner in which he chose to reveal it. Family matters should be handled privately, with respect and dignity. What happened at my daughter's wedding was neither respectful nor dignified. I hope Eric will reflect on his actions and understand the pain he has caused. Our family loves him and wants to move forward, but that requires accountability on all sides. Accountability on all sides, I read out loud. That's rich coming from a man who told me I lacked ambition 6 hours before finding out I'm a billionaire. The comments are even better on this one, Ava said. She was right, again. Sir, with all due respect, your son was humiliated at that wedding and you did nothing. Maybe reflect on that. Accountability on all sides, Ischio. I don't want to admit I was wrong about him. You pushed your kid into a fountain, metaphorically and apparently literally, and now you're mad he stood up? Please. Imagine being this emotionally unavailable and making it about your disappointment. My father's friends were defending him in the comments, other businessmen, country club types, people who understood his worldview. But they were outnumbered by strangers who'd watched the videos and decided my family were the villains of this story. Your mom hasn't posted anything, Ava said, but she's been commenting on other people's posts about it. Show me. Ava pulled up some random family friend's Facebook post, something about praying for the Morrison family during this difficult time, and there in the comments was my mother. Thank you so much. Linda, it's been very difficult. We had no idea Eric was hiding so much from us. We're trying to understand why he felt he couldn't trust his own family, praying for healing and reconciliation. I had to give her credit. That was masterclass manipulation. She'd positioned herself as the wounded mother whose son didn't trust her, rather than the mother who'd spent 32 years making her son feel invisible. She's good, I said. She's a narcissist, Ava corrected. There's a difference. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Then figured, what the hell, might as well lean into the chaos. Hello, Mr. Morrison, this is Rebecca Chen from Good Morning America. We'd love to have you on the show to tell your side of the story. I hung up. It rang again, different number. Mr. Morrison, this is David Park from Forbes, hung up again. Eric, this is your Aunt Susan. I just wanted to reach out and say that I always knew you were special, and I'd love to grab lunch sometime. Hung up. Okay, new plan, I said. I'm getting a new phone number. Already on it, Ava said, typing on her laptop. Miranda's having one set up. You'll have it by this afternoon. Only people with the new number will be me, Jake, Miranda, and Marcus. What about my family? What about them? Fair point. I sat down next to her, looked at the laptop screen, at the tweets and posts and comments, at the story being written about my life by thousands of strangers who'd never met me. This is insane, I said. This is the internet. She closed the laptop. Eric, you need to make a decision. Do you want to control this narrative or let it control you? What do you mean? I mean, right now, you're a mystery. You're the Hallstatt Fountain billionaire who appeared out of nowhere. People are filling in the gaps with speculation and assumptions. You could do one interview, something controlled, something with a journalist you trust, and tell your actual story. Or you disappear. Change your number, lay low, let it blow over. Eventually, something else will trend, and people will forget. I thought about it. Both options had merit. Both options terrified me. What do you think I should do? Honestly, I think you should disappear. She took my hand. Not forever, just for now. Let the dust settle. Let your family spiral without you. Go somewhere they can't find you. Somewhere the press can't find you. Just breathe. Where would I go? She smiled. I have a house in Maui, on the beach, private, secure. No one knows about it except my lawyer and my accountant. You have a secret house in Maui? I'm a billionaire, Eric. I have secret houses in 3 states and 2 countries. That's actually pretty cool. I know. She squeezed my hand like, come with me. Let's get out of Boston. Away from your family, away from the press, away from all of this. Just for a week or 2, clear your head. It sounded perfect. It sounded like exactly what I needed. What about work? Work is handled. Jake's running operations. The board is happy. You're allowed to take a vacation, Eric. You're allowed to not be available. I've never not been available. I know, that's the problem. She stood up. Go pack a bag. We're leaving in 2 hours. 2 hours? Eric, we have a private jet. We can leave whenever we want. 2 hours gives you time to pack and say goodbye to whatever you need to say goodbye to. I don't have anything to say goodbye to. Then pack quickly and we'll leave in 1 hour. I stood there for a second, processing. This morning I'd woken up as a trending topic. Now I was apparently flying to Maui to hide in a billionaire's secret beach house. My life had become a movie I would have made fun of for being unrealistic. Okay, I said, let's go to Maui. Yeah, screw it. Let's disappear. We left from a private terminal at Logan. No TSA lines, no crowds, just a desk, a security check that took 30 seconds, and a walk across the tarmac to a jet that probably cost more than my childhood home. Marcus drove us. Didn't ask questions, didn't comment on the luggage or the destination, just drove, professional as always. You ever get tired of not asking questions? I asked him from the back seat. Sir, I drive wealthy people. If I asked questions, I'd be unemployed. Fair point. Though, if I may, go ahead. That thing at the wedding with the fountain? He caught my eye in the rearview mirror. Good for you. My ex-wife treated me like garbage for 8 years. I wish I'd had the guts to do what you did. You got divorced? Messily. She took half of everything, including my dignity. He smiled. But I got my kids and my sanity, so I came out ahead. Sorry you went through that. Don't be. Best thing that ever happened to me. He pulled up to the terminal. Enjoy Maui, sir, and for what it's worth, your family didn't deserve you. Thanks, Marcus. We boarded the jet, a Gulfstream G650 because apparently Ava doesn't do anything halfway. Leather seats. Full bar. Bedroom in the back. The kind of plane that makes you understand why rich people are so insufferable about flying commercial. The pilot, Captain Williams, friendly guy, didn't mention the trending hashtag, welcomed us aboard, and said we'd be wheels up in 15 minutes. I sat by the window, watched the ground crew load our bags, thought about everything I was leaving behind. My family imploding on social media, my ex-wife scrambling to salvage a divorce settlement, my sister dealing with a wedding that would be remembered for all the wrong reasons, my father forced to confront that his disappointing son was more successful than he'd ever be. I should have felt guilty, I should have felt something, but mostly I just felt tired of performing, tired of hiding, tired of being small to make other people feel big. Ava sat down next to me, buckled in. You okay? Ask me when we land. Deal. The jet taxied, then lifted, Boston falling away beneath us. I watched the city shrink, watched the buildings become toys, watched everything I'd known become distant and small. My phone buzzed one last time before I turned it off completely. Text from Amelia. You're a selfish asshole, and I hope you're happy ruining the most important day of my life. I didn't respond, just turned off the phone, leaned back in the leather seat, closed my eyes. And somewhere over Pennsylvania, I started to laugh. Because I was happy. For the first time in 32 years, I was genuinely, completely, unapologetically happy. Not because I'd hurt them, though that was a bonus, but because I'd finally stopped hurting myself by pretending to be someone I wasn't. What's funny? Ava asked. Everything, I said. All of it. The fountain, the trending hashtag, my sister's Instagram post, my dad's Facebook speech. It's all so ridiculous. It is pretty ridiculous. I spent 7 years hiding who I was, building something incredible while pretending to be mediocre. And for what? So they'd love me for me? Did it work? Nope. They didn't love me broke, and they don't love me rich. They just want access to me rich. So what are you going to do? I opened my eyes, looked at her. This brilliant, beautiful, ruthless woman who'd seen me at my worst and decided I was worth building something with. I'm going to Maui, I said. I'm going to drink expensive whiskey on a private beach. I'm going to not check my phone for 2 weeks. And then I'm going to come back and build the life I actually want, instead of the life I thought they wanted me to have. That's a good plan. I have my moments. She kissed me. For the record, I'm proud of you. For what? Setting my life on fire? For finally standing up. She settled into her seat. Most people spend their whole lives being what everyone else expects. You spent 32 years doing that, then one night you said, screw it, and showed them who you really are, and became a meme. All great men become memes eventually. I don't think that's true. It's true now. We flew toward Maui, toward sun and beaches and the kind of peace you can only get when you're 6 hours away from everyone who's ever disappointed you. Behind us, Boston kept spinning. The internet kept commenting, my family kept imploding. But ahead of us? Ahead of us was something new, something honest, something mine. And honestly, after 32 years of living someone else's definition of success, living my own sounded pretty damn good. Chapter 10. The New Life. 3 months later, I stood in a ballroom at the Boston Harbor Hotel, wearing a tux that actually fit, watching 200 underprivileged students celebrate getting full-ride scholarships to college. Turns out, When you have $3 billion, you can fund a lot of futures. The Morrison Scholarship Foundation, named by Ava, because she said I needed to reclaim my name from people who made you feel like it was worth nothing, had awarded its first round of scholarships tonight. Full tuition, room, board, and a stipend for books and living expenses, all going to kids from rough backgrounds who'd proven they were brilliant but broke. Kids like I'd once been, except with actual support. You look happy, Ava said, appearing at my elbow in a black gown that probably cost more than the entire catering bill. I am happy. Good. She handed me a whiskey. Because you've got about 40 people who want to thank you personally, and you're going to need this. She wasn't wrong. The students came up one by one, some crying, some stoic, all of them grateful in that overwhelming way that makes you realize money is just points on a scoreboard until you use it to actually change someone's life. A girl named Maya, 17 from Dorchester, wanted to study aerospace engineering, shook my hand and said, Mr. Morrison, I don't know how to thank you. Just do great things, I told her. That's thanks enough. I will, I promise. She walked away, beaming, and I felt something crack open in my chest. The good kind of crack. The kind that lets light in. You're crying, Ava observed. No, I'm not. You are. You're definitely crying. It's allergies. We're indoors in November. Fine, I'm crying. I wiped my eye. Sue me for having feelings. Never. Your feelings are my favorite thing about you. That and the billions, right? Well, obviously. The gala wound down around 10 p.m. Students left with folders full of information and futures full of possibilities. Donors, the good kind, the ones who actually cared about outcomes, not photo ops, lingered to network and congratulate each other on being charitable. I found Jake by the bar, nursing a beer and looking uncomfortable in his tux. You clean up nice, I told him. I hate these things. Liar, you love these things. I tolerate them for the open bar and the tiny food. He grabbed another mini quiche from a passing waiter. But seriously, man, this is good. What we're doing here, the scholarship thing, it matters. Yeah? Yeah. He looked at me. You know, when we started Northline, I thought the whole point was just to build something cool, make some money, maybe change the industry. I didn't realize we were also going to change people's lives. We always were. We just didn't know it yet. Deep, you've been reading philosophy books or something? Ava's been making me read Stoicism. Of course she has. He clinked his beer against my whiskey. To new lives, yours and theirs. To new lives. We drank, watched the room. These successful people in expensive clothes, celebrating kids who'd probably never been in a room this nice before tonight. You hear from your family? Jake asked. Nope, not at all. My mom sends emails. I don't read them. Amelia's blocked me on everything, which is fine because I blocked her first. My dad had his lawyer reach out twice more. Miranda told them to pound sand. And Nora? Divorce finalized 2 weeks ago. She got what the prenup specified. The car and her personal belongings, nothing else. She tried to fight it. Lost spectacularly. Last I heard, she's living with her parents and unemployed because her firm fired her for the affair. Yikes. She made her choices. That's cold, Morrison. That's fair, Chen. He laughed. You really don't feel bad? I thought about it, really thought about it. Did I feel bad that my ex-wife was struggling? That my family was dealing with public embarrassment? That my sister's wedding would forever be known as the Fountain Incident? No, I said honestly. I don't. They had years to be decent. They chose not to be. I'm not responsible for the consequences of their choices. When did you get so well adjusted? Therapy? Lots of therapy. I smiled. Turns out, having billions means you can afford the really good therapists. Money can buy happiness. Money can buy the resources that help you find happiness. There's a difference. Dr. Morrison, everyone. We stood there for a minute. Just existing. Just being two guys who'd built something from nothing and somehow ended up on the other side of it, still friends. You happy, Eric? Jake asked quietly. Yeah, I said, and meant it. Yeah, I really am. Later that night, Ava and I stood on the balcony of our penthouse. She'd officially moved in 2 weeks ago, brought her art and her ridiculous shoe collection, and her tendency to reorganize my kitchen cabinets in ways that made no sense but somehow worked better. The city sparkled below us. All those lives, all those stories, all that possibility. You did good tonight, she said. We did good. It's your foundation, too. Technically, it's 70% yours, 30 mine. I checked the paperwork. Stop being a CFO at me. Can't help it. It's who I am. She leaned against the railing. You know what I've been thinking about? How much you love me, how brilliant I am, how lucky you are to have met me in that coffee shop 5 years ago. All of that, obviously, but also, I've been thinking about your family. Gross. Why? Because they're going to come back eventually. I groaned. Don't ruin a good night with reality. I'm serious. Right now they're embarrassed and angry. But eventually that'll fade, and when it does, they're going to reach out. Try to reconcile. Play the family card. And you need to decide now what you're going to do when that happens. I looked out at the city, thought about fountains and weddings and 32 years of being told I wasn't enough. I already know what I'll do. Yeah? I'll tell them the same thing I'd tell anyone who treated me that way. That I appreciate them reaching out, but I'm not interested in a relationship with people who only value me when I'm useful. That's harsh. That's honest. I turned to face her. Ava, they had my whole life to love me. They didn't. I'm not going to waste my second act trying to earn something they should have given me for free. What if they've changed? People don't change that fast. They just learn to pretend better. She studied my face, looking for cracks, for doubt, for the part of me that still wanted their approval. She wouldn't find it. That part of me had drowned in a fountain at the Fairmont Copley Plaza. What emerged was something different, something that didn't need validation from people who'd spent decades withholding it. I love you, she said finally. I love you too. Even though I reorganized your kitchen, especially because you reorganized my kitchen, it actually makes sense now. I know, I'm a genius. You are. We stood there. Balcony, city, stars barely visible through the light pollution. My phone buzzed. The new one. The one only 4 people had the number to. Text from Marcus. Sir, just saw on social media that your father is giving interviews about you. Thought you should know. Also, do you need a driver tomorrow? I'm free after 2. I showed Ava the text. My father's giving interviews. Of course he is. He's a narcissist who's losing control of the narrative. Should I watch them? Absolutely not. Let him spiral. It's not your problem. She was right, as usual. I texted Marcus back. Thanks for the heads up. No driver needed tomorrow, but I'll keep you posted. Enjoy your day off. Then I put my phone away and went back to looking at the city. You know what the weirdest part is? I said, what? I spent 32 years wanting them to be proud of me, wanting my dad to say, good job, son, without the but, wanting my mom to actually listen when I talked, wanting Amelia to treat me like an equal instead of a disappointment. And now I don't care, like at all. It's not even anger anymore. It's just indifference. That's healthy. Is it? Or is it cold? It's boundaries. There's a difference. She took my hand. Eric, you gave them decades. They didn't appreciate it. Now you're giving yourself the rest of your life. That's not cold. That's survival. Dr. Reeves, everyone. I've been reading your therapy books. I noticed. We went inside, made tea, expensive tea that tasted like flowers and cost $40 for a tin. Sat on the couch that Ava had picked out because your bachelor furniture was offensive to interior design. What do you want to do tomorrow? She asked. Sleep in, make breakfast, maybe go to the museum. The museum? Yeah, like normal people. Just walk around, look at art, be boring. You want to be boring? I want to be normal, I corrected. I spent so long trying to be impressive to people who didn't care. Now I just want to be regular to someone who does. That's the most romantic thing you've ever said to me. Really? That's the bar? It's a high bar. She kissed me. I love boring with you. Good, because I'm planning like 40 years of boring. Only 40? Fine, 50, but that's my final offer. Deal. 6 months after the fountain incident, I got an email from my mother. The subject line, can we please talk? I almost deleted it, finger hovering over the trash icon. But curiosity, or maybe the last ember of hope that hadn't quite died, made me open it. Dear Eric, I know you don't want to hear from me. I know you're angry, and you have every right to be. I've spent 6 months thinking about that night at Amelia's wedding, about everything that happened and about the things we said and didn't say and didn't do. Your father thinks I shouldn't reach out, that you need to come to us. But I'm your mother, and I can't just sit here and pretend I don't miss you. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect you to suddenly forget 32 years of I'm not even sure what to call it. Neglect? Preference? Whatever it was wrong. I see that now. I'm not asking for a relationship. I'm not asking for anything, really. I just wanted you to know that I see you now. I see what we missed. I see the son we had who was brilliant and kind and funny, and I see how we made him feel like he wasn't enough. And I'm sorry, that's all. I'm sorry. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. If you don't, I understand. Love, Mom. I read it twice, then closed my laptop. Ava looked up from her book. Who was that? My mom, apologizing. You going to respond? I don't know. That's fair. I thought about it for a while, about apologies and forgiveness and whether either one mattered after so much damage. Do you think people can change? I asked. Some people, sometimes, if they want to badly enough. She set down her book. Do you think your mom can change? I think she thinks she can. I don't know if she actually will. So what are you going to do? Nothing. Not right now. I opened my laptop again. Looked at the email. Maybe in a year, maybe never, but right now? Right now, I'm still healing from the first 32 years. I can't handle trying to fix them, too. That's fair? Is it? Eric, she had your whole childhood to be the mom you needed. She wasn't. One apology email doesn't erase that. But what if she means it? Then she can keep meaning it while you take your time deciding if you want to let her back in. Ava came over, sat next to me. You don't owe them your forgiveness just because they're family. You don't owe them anything. She was right. I closed the laptop again. Didn't delete the email, but didn't respond either. Just left it there, existing. Like my family, still part of my history, but not my present. 1 year after the Fountain incident, someone wrote a book about it. The Fountain Billionaire, How One Man's Public Humiliation Became Silicon Valley's Favorite Revenge Story. It was fine, got some things right, got a lot of things wrong. Turned me into some kind of tech hero when really I was just a guy who got tired of being a punchline. It made the bestseller list anyway, and I didn't read it. But I saw the reviews, saw people online debating whether I was justified or petty, saw think pieces about family dynamics and wealth and the American dream, saw my face on magazine covers with headlines like The Quiet Billionaire and The Man Who Won by Walking Away. It was surreal, being a story instead of a person, being a symbol instead of a guy. But here's the thing they got wrong in all those articles and books and hot takes. They thought the fountain was the moment. They thought standing up, soaking wet, and saying, "Don't forget this moment," was the triumphant climax. But it wasn't. The real moment was later, after Maui, after the lawyers and the interviews and the trending hashtags died down. The real moment was waking up next to Ava and realizing I was happy. The real moment was funding scholarships for kids who reminded me of myself and watching them cry with gratitude. The real moment was standing in my kitchen, making coffee and realizing I hadn't thought about my family's approval in weeks. The real moment was quiet. No fountains, no dramatics, no revenge, just peace. And honestly, that's a better ending than any of those books gave me. 2 years after the Fountain incident, Ava and I got married. Small ceremony, 20 people. Beach in Maui at the house where we'd hidden from the world. No family, just friends. Jake as best man, Miranda as Ava's maid of honor. Marcus drove us to the airport. We'd flown commercial for fun, wanted to feel normal for once. The ceremony was perfect. Sunset, ocean, woman I loved, man I'd become. We said our vows, wrote them ourselves because we were cheesy like that. I promised to never hide who I was again. She promised to always reorganize my kitchen cabinets, even though I complained. We kissed, everyone cheered. We danced to a playlist that included Making a Splash, because we'd finally learned to laugh at it. That night, sitting on our balcony, Ava asked, "Any regrets? About the wedding or life in general?" Both. I thought about it. About fountains and families and the long road from invisible sun to independent man. No, I said, no regrets. Not even the fountain. Especially not the fountain. I smiled. Turns out rock bottom isn't a place where you drown, it's a springboard. And yours had a fountain. And mine had a fountain. We sat there, ocean sounds, stars visible now that we were away from the city, future stretching out ahead of us like an open road. Somewhere in Boston, my family was probably living their lives. Probably still dealing with the fallout. Probably still telling their version of the story where I was the villain. I didn't care. Because here's what I learned from drowning in that fountain. You can't make people love you. You can't earn worth from people who think you're worthless. You can't build a life on the foundation of other people's approval. But you can build one on your own. And that life, the one you build for yourself with people who actually see you, that's the one worth living. What are you thinking about? Ava asked. How lucky I am. Because you married me? Because I finally stopped trying to be what they wanted and started being who I am. And who are you? I looked at her. This brilliant, beautiful, ruthless woman who'd seen me at my worst and decided I was worth building something with. I'm Eric Morrison, I said. I'm a billionaire, I'm a husband, I'm a guy who got pushed into a fountain and turned it into a fresh start. That's a pretty good story. Yeah, I said, pulling her close. Yeah, it really is. And somewhere in the distance, under stars and ocean and possibility, I swear I heard the sound of water, not drowning, baptism.